Hi, everybody, and welcome to day 7, the final day of opening up in lockdown. Thank you for, if you're still with me, then thank you for, making it this far. If you've watched a video, clicked a link, if you've made a comment, if you've just opened up a little bit more about your own mental health, then you've made this whole thing worth doing. So thank you so much for that. The truth for me is that I may never rewrite all these scripts that I've written for myself, or reach this perfect version of myself that I've obviously been trying so hard to achieve, and that's all right. I'm now trying to work on awareness of it and articulating it and trying to set myself up to grow in the right direction. And so these videos have been a part of that process, and they've been a cathartic process in their own right. Getting something done, getting stuff down that you've been wanting to do for a while has its own rewards. And right now, I think we're in a unique position. And I know that this lockdown and this virus comes with its own anxieties and uncertainty and worry. But hopefully, we can agree that things have become a bit more simple as we focus more around sustaining and protecting our loved ones. The noise from all the day-to-day hustle and bustle of life has kind of faded a little bit for me, and I hope it has for you. Like I say, I'm aware that it's not the same for everyone, but I hope that you can try and use some of that time, that clarity, to focus in on what you might want after all this, and be confident about the fact that you might be able to achieve it. There's one thing that's becoming clearer and clearer for me, and that is that we need each other. Not just you and me, but in general. I think the need for human connection is absolutely instinctual in us all, and we've seen it so much more highlighted during this lockdown as everybody's nodding and smiling at each other in the streets and making excuses to talk to each other over their fences, and the live streams and quizzes and FaceTimes and all that. We're so connected right now, and it's an absolute blessing. But at the same time, that social media that we're all immersed in, it comes with its own isolation and loneliness, and especially for the next generation who don't know a time where life wasn't photographed, filtered, shared, compared with others, and the damage, the untold damage that can do. And so part of the reason I wanted these videos to be in this format was to show you that it's not always the full picture, and don't assume that you're weird or that everybody else is fine and you're not, because there's always more to the story. There's always a bigger picture that you're not seeing, and that's don't assume that you can help somebody else because you're struggling, because it might be your struggle that is why you can help somebody else. And so put it out there. I've tried to talk more and more to my friends and family and people around me, and it's undoubtable that people will be surprised by this because of the way that I carry myself in real life and on social media. This is the real me, and I'm not ashamed of that. And I recommend the process for you of putting yourself out there. I think this has been a self-indulgent process for me, and quite egotistical, I think. Setting out with the idea that people would want to listen to what I've got to say or look at my face for any period of time is still weird for me. And we've got to push through that feeling that maybe what we've got to say holds no value to anybody else, or that we won't be heard or accepted, or that we'll be put in someone's box for being, boring or weak or incapable. And we've got to tell our story the way that it's most natural to us to do. So I wish you luck with that. And I want to one other way I want to try and help with that is to talk a bit about how I've talked to others, how I've opened up, and what the results of that have been. Okay, so this is by no means a shaming exercise, because the reality is these conversations have to happen. They're not going to be easy, especially with people who don't get it. But we can't close those conversations down. So for starters, the one person said to me, "What have you got to be anxious about?" And I mean, I didn't have a great answer at the time. I mean, I think they said, try to think about how lucky you are. And if you think about it, that's a natural response, probably even from me a few years ago. That, if you haven't experienced it yourself, really, then the natural instinct is, well, think about the good stuff, and I think it just shows that people can't always accept the power that it has, the control that it can have over. It's not a choice, I mean, several people actually said to me, well, this is normal. This is, everyone feels like this at some point in their lives. And, if that is true, which it might well be, then why aren't we all talking about it more? Why aren't we all helping each other and sharing our experiences and coping mechanisms and positivity and lifting each other? Why do we have to accept that that's the way it always is and we don't talk about it? Someone said to me, "You think too much." And I was like, "You think?" Again, I didn't have a great answer for that at the time. I'm getting better at talking about these things. And I think, I can't apologize for the thinking. It's what makes me who I am. It's what separates us from the beasts. If it is that's got me into this mess, I still don't think I'd change. I don't think I'd want to think less. And hopefully with a bit of help from the people around me, I will come out on the other side, and it will be thinking that will help me do that. But I think the point is that none of those conversations were scary or unpleasant. They need to be had. I want those conversations to be open. There's still, there's more to be discussed. And I think that's the point, is that don't close these conversations down, because we need to help people to understand that it's not always about fixing people or the right choice of words. It's about creating that space where someone can talk about who they are without feeling the judgment or the need for fixing. When you want to grow in that, if there's a space there, you can grow into it. If the space is shut down by a solution, then perhaps it isn't there for you to grow into. And so we need to work on that, me, us, all of us, whether we have mental health problems or not. We all need to work on creating that space rather than closing it down. And I'll tell you what, that those few examples I've given there are the small percentage of acceptable conversations that I had. The rest of the conversations that I had were incredibly supportive and empowering, and I've got closer to people as we found more common ground than ever before. I really highly recommend just talking about it. Now, how will I know if it's been a success? Well, it won't be happiness. I'm not searching for this utopian version of happiness anymore. I think for me, it will be about, gratitude. I think happiness is something that happens to us depending on what is out there. And gratitude is something that we have for what we've got, regardless of what happens to us, if that makes sense. Humans have this thing called hedonic adaptation, and it's this tendency that humans have to revert back to their base level of happiness or contentment, or whatever you want to call it. And so they did studies on people who'd lost limbs and people who had won the lottery, and their happiness levels over time. And before long, people revert back to what they were like before, regardless of how extreme their circumstances might have been. And so, it's that base level that needs work. You know, it's that base level. I need to start to accept who I am a little bit more. I mean, you know, I've evolved. We've all evolved to worry and to panic and to be anxious. And so, you know, I'm not weird. Well, I am weird, but not because of that. You know, those processes have just got confused somewhere along the way, and as they have, instead of accepting that and dealing with it, I've engaged in an ever more sort of complicated mask wearing exercise, which to protect myself from that, and it's not sustainable over time. You know, big life changes come along, and my comfort zone is way behind me, and my inner chimp is hypersensitive, and I'm staring at this like imposter in the mirror, asking him, well, why do you deserve this life, and what have you got to do to prove that you've earned it? And trying to reassure myself that I'm not alone, and actually I've got to maintain this facade because everything will disappear if I don't. So if you've ever seen somebody struggle, heard about somebody struggle, and thought, man up, get a grip, try harder, any of those things, then, you know, just remember that this can catch up with anyone. This might already be affecting people that you care about, that you that are close to you, but they're not able to talk about it. And you might be, with that strength of character, you might be the right person to be able to help them through a time. I'm now working on looking inwardly for acceptance rather than looking outwardly for validation. I'm going to keep pushing with my business, but not to try and make me rich and buy things, but to try and get my work life family balance sorted at some point in the future, so that, you know, I can find some peace and experiences that bring me closer to other people. I'm going to be working on increasing my, you know, this coaching stuff, increasing my self-awareness and growth mindset so that I can try and work on that base level. And when I'm present again in those moments, where I'm not sort of thinking about everything that's happened or worrying about what's to come, when I'm just taking that moment for what it is, I think that will be when I know that I'm sort of back to me again, I think. So I've said it in every video, and I'll say it one more time for you. Talk about it. Tell us. You've got to tell us how you really feel, what you really want, what you're capable of, what you are going to achieve. Put it out there into the world where you control it and it doesn't control you anymore. You absolutely can do that. You can. I'm telling you, because I'm doing it, and I wouldn't have believed I could have done this 6 months ago. So thanks again for indulging me in this. It's, at the very least, you've got to know me a bit better, and at the very best, hopefully you've set some goals or recognised your own abilities. I think the main goal should always be, the first goal in life should be to be kind. It's the theme of Mental Health Awareness Week this year. It feels like the theme of the lockdown. And so why can't we just carry that on? And I don't just mean credit where it's due. Well, I do, credit where it's due, you know. But I mean, not just being kind to our fellow humans, but being kind to yourself primarily. And so it's over to you now. It's my birthday, and I'm not going to ask for any presents. I'm going to ask you for one favour, and that is to go and get a big Post-it note pad or a piece of paper, a bit of sticky tape and a pen. I'll wait. Well, you can pause it, can't you? Pause it. Come on, pause. I'll know if you didn't pause. Welcome back. Now, I would like you to go and write down on that piece of paper a goal for me. Now, it can be that big, scary goal in the distance that you've been keeping in for a long time, but that you know that you want to do. Or it can be that 1% goal, that booking that course, having that conversation, calling that person who can help. But I want you to write it down for me. And if you're not comfortable with a goal, that's okay. I'd like you to write down a compliment for you. And I'd like you to, I mean, it can be anything. You know, we're all dealing with this lockdown differently. I've added a few pounds. I've definitely grown a few more greys, some of you may realise. But, you know, I want you to, you look brilliant. That can be it. You've done a great job. That can be it. You're a great teacher. Give yourself a compliment and mean it. And I'd like you to, whatever it is, goal or compliment, I'd like you to stick it either on the bathroom mirror or on the door, the front door, on the way, where you'd see it on the way out. Anywhere where you'd see it every single day. And I hopefully then, I've done my bit, because then your reticular activating system will kick in. You will start to see reasons why that can work for you more. And so I'll be happy. That'll be my birthday made. So it's your turn. It's over to you now. I got nothing else. Thank you so much for joining me. God, it's 16 minutes. It's too long. If you're still here, then what are you doing? Thank you very much indeed. And for joining me in opening up in lockdown for the last time. Goodbye.